Welcome back, learner. Ready for another deep dive?
Always excited to see where these sources take us.
This time you've sent in a ton of material about, well, about traveling in Italy.
Italy, huh? Sounds right up my alley.
We're talking several specific regions. Cinque Terre, those villages on the coast.
Ah, yes. Picturesque, aren't they?
Then there's the Bay of Naples and the Amalfi Coast.
A classic for a reason, I'd say.
Lake Garda, Verona, and Venice are in the mix too.
A nice variety of experiences right there.
Plus Tuscany, who doesn't love Tuscany?
Food, wine, history. Hard to beat.
And even a cruise that started in Venice. Oh, and Sardinia. Can't forget Sardinia.
An island paradise, as I recall.
Exactly. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to distill all of that down
See the essentials, right? The aha moments, the practical tips.
without overwhelming the learner with every single detail.
Like a carefully curated travel guide, but conversational.
Perfect. So Cinque Terre, those 5 villages clinging to the cliffs, what stands out to you from the sources?
Well, first off, the word unique pops up constantly.
Unique and authentic. Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like these little time capsules, these untouched fishing villages.
Holding on to that charm, it's really remarkable.
It makes you wonder how, in today's world. But then you read about how isolated they were,
Right. Until pretty recently, it sounds like.
connected mainly by those mountain and coastal trails. One source called them a hill walker's dream.
You can almost picture it, right? Life moving at a slower pace.
Then boom,
Yeah.
19th century, the railway arrives.
Connecting them to each other and to Genoa, Pisa, Rome.
And you'd think that'd change everything, but it seems like they've retained their character.
It is surprising, isn't it?
Mm.
Speaking of connections, for those arriving by plane,
Genoa and Pisa are the closest airports.
one traveler even detailed their route, flying into Pisa and then.
An integrated train ticket straight to Cinque Terre in just over an hour.
Efficient, right? And I love that detail about the integrated ticket. So practical.
It is. Removes that travel stress right away.
Oh.
And while we're on practicalities,
Language barrier. Should we be brushing up on our Italian?
well, Italian is obviously spoken, but English is widely understood.
That makes things easier. Also, worth mentioning, Cinque Terre is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Since 1997, no less. A testament to its cultural and natural significance.
And something else that contributes to that. Cars. Heavily restricted.
Not just a minor inconvenience, it's intentional. And it's preserved those iconic views.
The colorful houses, the terraced cliffs. Can you imagine cars squeezing through those narrow paths?
It'd be a completely different experience. And those terraces, the fields, the vineyards,
2 millennia of construction, all done without machines.
mind-boggling, isn't it? No wonder they want to protect it.
So practical advice for anyone planning a visit.
Cinque Terre card pops up repeatedly.
Covers train travel and hiking fees. And you can buy it online beforehand.
Saves time once you're there. Oh, and don't forget sturdy walking boots.
Those trails are clearly not for flip-flops. As for where to stay,
One traveler recommended Monterosso al Mare.
the westernmost village, right? And it's the flattest.
A blessing after all that hiking, I imagine. Plus, it has the only large sandy beach.
So if beach time is a priority, Monterosso it is.
Makes sense. The itinerary suggestions were interesting, too.
Spending the first few days hopping between villages by train. Monterosso, Vernassa, Cornelia.
Each one with its own character. Those trains are only 5-6 minutes apart.
Makes it easy to experience several in a day.
Alternatively, you could walk the trails between villages and take the train back.
The best of both worlds. Challenge yourself with those views, then a relaxing train ride.
And on day 4, a day trip to Portofino is recommended.
Ah, Portofino.
Glamorous, isn't it?
More sophisticated, definitely more expensive than Cinque Terre, but that walk.
They described it as a red carpet experience along the seafront, then winding through a forest.
Ligurian sea views, can't beat those.
And finally, on day 5, the suggestion is simple. Go back to your favorite village. Find a nice spot, have a long Italian lunch, 4 courses, local wine.
Perfect ending. Oh, and a departure tip if you're flying out of Pisa that evening.
Leave your luggage at the airport and squeeze in a visit to the Leaning Tower.
Efficiency at its finest. So, to summarize, the Cinque Terre must-sees.
Hike those trails, experience the train journeys, savor the village atmosphere.
And don't miss that Portofino day trip.
And budget-wise, it seems like about 750 euros per person for a week is a reasonable estimate.
All right, the learner. Let's shift gears and head south.
To the Bay of Naples and the Amalfi Coast.
Described as incredible regions, just bursting with things to see and do.
Short trips, long trips, there's something for everyone.
And Capri, that island just south of Naples.
Beautiful by all accounts. and a hot spot for attractions.
Definitely high on the list for many travelers. Naples itself, historically significant, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Once the largest and most sought-after Roman region in southern Italy.
Today it's known for landmarks, museums, churches. But it can be a bit much, apparently.
Loud and crowded, some of your sources mentioned.
So timing is key. Spring, March through May, or autumn, September to November.
Best weather, fewer crowds.
Just try to avoid Easter and those national holidays in spring.
And summer. Well, that's peak season. Scorching hot and packed.
Winter's cold and wet, and a lot of things close down.
Makes sense. So once you're in Naples, exploring the city itself is a must.
They call it a living medieval city. Fascinating. The heart of Italian culture, they say.
Food, history, good weather. What more could you ask for?
And if you're into Roman history, the Naples Archaeological Museum.
Home to the best Pompeii and Herculaneum frescoes and mosaics, apparently.
Then there's Vesuvius, looming over everything. Last erupted in 44, but...
Everyone remembers 79 AD, right?
Great.
Pompeii and Herculaneum.
Now you can actually go up there, walk, drive, bus, taxi.
Lunar-like landscape at the top, amazing views across the bay.
Pompeii itself, 65 hectares uncovered.
A glimpse into Roman life, frozen in time.
Then Herculaneum, smaller but even better preserved, they say.
Buried deeper, less crowded, incredible details still visible.
Both accessible from Ercolano, near the train station.
And a bus ride from Vesuvius, if you're combining those.
Sorrento. Both a destination and a good base, it seems.
Built on a cliff, an hour south of Naples. Can be crowded in peak season, though.
Unspoiled Old Quarter. The cliffside setting, that lively shopping street.
And a gateway to Capri by ferry. Plus, starting point for Amalfi Coast tours.
English widely spoken, and lots of lemon and olive groves.
Adds to the charm. Now, the Amalfi Coast itself, famous for that bus ride.
Sorrento to Salerno, winding along the cliffs. Instagram heaven.
But the towns, while pretty, can be a bit of a mixed bag, it seems.
Crowded, pricey, and those climbs from the beaches.
Perhaps enjoy the views from the bus and pick one or two towns to explore.
Sound advice. Now, Capri, that turquoise water.
Draws the crowds, and the prices reflect that.
Roman emperors used to hang out there, now it's celebrities and honeymooners.
High fashion shopping, that lively Piazzetta Square.
Boat trips around the island, the Blue Grotto.
Monte Solaro chairlift for panoramic views, not to be missed.
And Axel Monte's Villa San Michele in Anacapri.
Gorgeous. Regular ferries from Naples and Sorrento.
Now, the learner, brace yourself for practical tips. There are a lot.
Let's hear them.
Shopkeepers are friendly, drivers a bit bold, shall we say.
Good to know.
The region is incredibly fertile thanks to the volcanic soil. Lots of fruit production.
Those nets you see on trees, protecting the citrus
Yeah.
on the ground for olive harvesting,
Always carry water. You'll be doing a lot of walking and climbing.
especially in that heat.
Piano di Sorrento has one main road. Be prepared for traffic.
Good to factor in.
When it comes to dining, Vino della Casa, the house wine, is usually a good bet.
Value for money.
Italians have a light breakfast, big lunch, late dinner.
Expect a continental breakfast at your hotel.
Tipping isn't huge, but restaurants often add a service charge.
Watch out for that.
Mondays can be tricky. Lots of museums and attractions are closed.
Maybe a good day for shopping or relaxing.
But first Sunday of the month, free entry to many museums and sites nationwide.
Now that's a tip worth remembering.
Buy tickets online if you can, usually better prices. Cash is still preferred in many places.
Especially smaller establishments.
Keep your receipts. The finance police might do checks.
Who knew?
Gelato is everywhere. Find a good one and stick to it.
My kind of advice.
Some basic Italian phrases will get you a long way. And remember, bars are for coffee.
Right? Be specific with your order and maybe skip the milky coffees after breakfast.
Public toilets can be basic. Pack tissues or wipes. Standing at the bar is cheaper than sitting.
Makes sense.
Pack comfortable shoes, light scarves or hats for the sun, sunglasses.
And modest clothing if you're visiting churches.
Train travel is easy and inexpensive, but can be crowded. Local spring water is perfectly drinkable.
From those Nisoni fountains.
Bottled water is readily available too, still or sparkling. Mosquitoes. Be prepared.
Right, good point.
In some accommodations, especially Naples and Capri, you might need to bin the toilet paper.
Interesting.
Watch out for taxi scams, like shortchanging.
Always good to be aware.
Food in the most touristy areas might not be the best. Venture out a bit.
Makes sense. You know what they say about tourist traps?
Sadly, pickpockets are common, especially near tourist sites and on transport. Be careful.
Stay vigilant. Now, one source detailed a 7-day coach tour of the region.
September 2021, they stayed in Ciano, near Vico Equens.
Covered a lot of ground. Naples, Sorrento, Amalfi, Ravello, Ercolano, Capri.
Even an optional trip to Positano, they raved about the Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Vesuvius tours.
Benefit of having a local guide, I suppose. They also mentioned the people.
Informal, friendly, welcoming. They had a particular affinity for Irish visitors, apparently.
That is interesting. Shared history, maybe.
Now, for something completely different, a flotilla sailing trip.
Intriguing.
7 days around the Bay of Naples, July, hot, late winds.
Sounds challenging.
Procida, Ischia, Capri, Sorrento, Amalfi. They said it was tough but exhilarating, especially for beginners.
A sense of freedom and a strong social element being part of a flotilla.
Level 2 marine skill, apparently, going up to 3 if you sail solo.
Good to know.
The bay is pretty safe for sailing, minimal tides, and those predictable afternoon winds.
Reassuring for newbies.
Yacht hire, of course, is an added cost. They mentioned an Oceanus 45 feet.
Those aren't cheap.
And birding fees in August can be steep. 150 to 260 euros per night for a 45 fitter.
Ouch.
And it seems like standard nautical rules are a bit more relaxed there. Weekend boating is massive for the locals, apparently. They had an interesting food and wine itinerary.
I'm all ears.
Exploration in Naples, then a ferry to Procida to join the flotilla.
Makes sense.
And then they sailed and motored their way around to Ischia, Sorrento, Amalfi, Capri.
A week packed with sights and flavors.
So Bay of Naples and Amalfi Coast must-sees. That coach trip for the coastal views.
Sorrento, Positano, Amalfi, Ravello. Classic.
Vesuvius, Pompeii, Herculaneum for the history buffs.
Essential stops.
And Capri with a boat tour to see the island from the water.
Can't go wrong with that.
And for the adventurous, that sailing experience. Seeing the coast from a new perspective.
Unique and memorable.
Now, the learner. Let's head north. Lake Garda, Verona, and Venice.
Shifting gears. From the coast to the mountains and canals.
One source detailed a guided tour September 2024.
7 days, based in Riva del Garda.
They described it as a peaceful haven, beautiful scenery, outdoor activities.
Good restaurants, a relaxed vibe. Sounds idyllic.
Lakeside strolls, exploring the old town.
In those markets,
Yeah.
alternating between Riva and Arco on Wednesdays.
Boat trips across the lake to Limone sul Garda.
Famous for its lemon groves, of course.
And Malsacene, another charming town.
Picturesque from the photos I've seen.
You could even take a panoramic lift up to the Bastion.
A historic fortress, great views, they said. €8 for a return ticket.
And a restaurant up there, too, if you want to dine with a view.
Always a plus.
Now, a short drive south brings you to Verona.
Romeo and Juliet territory.
But it's got Roman roots, too.
Layers of history.
They mentioned the Arena di Verona, the Roman amphitheater.
Still in use today, remarkably well preserved.
Ponte Pietra, a Roman bridge with views of the Adige River.
Sounds lovely.
Piazza delle Erbe, the bustling market square.
The heart of the city.
And of course, Juliet's balcony, although it can be quite crowded.
I can imagine. Food-wise,
Yeah,
gelato's a must.
naturally. And they recommend trying pastisada di caval.
Horse stew. Interesting.
And a chance to sample some regional wines, like Amarone from Valpolicella.
Oh, I've heard good things about Amaro.
Then Venice, a city that keeps on giving, apparently.
Magical.
Built on over 100 islands, linked by canals and bridges.
It really is unique.
A gondola ride is a cliche, but still a must-do.
I agree. It's all part of the experience.
St. Mark's Square, with the Basilica and its mosaics.
And the Campanile for those panoramic views.
The Doge's Palace, the Bridge of Sighs.
Iconic.
They recommend sampling cicchetti at a Baccaro near the Rialto Market.
Phoenician tapas. Right. And those little wine bars.
Exactly. And for something quirky, Libreria Acqua Alta, the bookstore with books in bathtubs.
They have to do that because of the flooding, right?
Exactly. And Harry's Bar, famous for the Bellini and Carpaccio.
A classic.
Day trip to Burano, the colorful island with the lace making.
Charming.
And Murano, famous for glass blowing.
Beautiful craftsmanship.
Back on the mainland, the Lake Garda tour had optional extras.
Tell me more.
An alpine tour, including Canale di Tenno, an artist's retreat,
Sounds peaceful.
and a winery tour with tasting, of course.
Can't go wrong with that.
Plus walking and cycling trips around Riva del Garda.
A nice variety.
Practicalities. Euro is the currency, cash and card widely accepted.
As expected.
But cash is still king in Venice, apparently.
Good to know.
The people are generally described as friendly, stylish, casual.
And they seem to have a soft spot for Irish visitors.
Overall, tourists felt very welcomed.
That's always a plus.
Must-sees for this area, definitely a full day in Venice. Guided city tours in Verona and Venice to soak up the history.
Essential.
And enjoy that delicious Italian food.
Can't forget that.
Now, some additional observations from the Lake Garda trip. It seems Italian satellite TV is the norm.
Not much English language content, huh?
Limited, so bring your own books or entertainment.
Good advice.
No taxis seen in Riva del Garda, so walking, cycling, car hire, or public transport.
Could be prepared.
Restaurant food is fantastic, lots of fish, pasta, pizza.
Sounds delicious.
You might find a few American burger chains and shopping centers.
In case you're craving some familiarity.
Local wineries are great, but they don't export much.
A shame.
Lake Garda beaches are mostly pebbles, so pack swimming shoes.
Good tip.
Nightlife attire is casual. Pack light, 10-kilogram case, and a backpack was the suggestion.
Practical.
Bring your own sunscreen. They emphasize that.
Always a good idea.
Venice has a €20 tourist tax, just so you know,
Nice.
and limits on tour group size in certain areas.
Interesting.
All right, the learner, onwards to Tuscany.
The heart of Italy.
One source described a 7-day tour in April 2023.
Based in Monocattini term.
Known for its Art Nouveau spas and the funicular up to Monocattini Alto.
For those panoramic views.
Great train connections from there to Pisa, Florence, Lucca, even Cinque Terre and Rome.
Well connected.
And a reminder to validate those train tickets before boarding.
Important.
Florence, the Renaissance city, the Old Town is very walkable.
Ideal for exploring.
Piazza del Duomo, with the Florence Cathedral and Brunellesi's dome.
And Giotto's Campanile. Stunning.
Piazza Santa Croce is a bit less crowded, with cafes and street performers.
More laid back.
They have those Calcio Storico games there in June, a historic form of football.
Sounds unique.
You can climb the dome and the Campanile for those views, but there's a fee.
Worth it, I'd say.
Florence is great for shopping, especially for leather goods.
And souvenirs, of course.
And gelato. Don't forget the gelato.
Never.
They recommend hiking up to Piazzale Michelangelo for sunset views over the city.
Romantic.
For the art lovers, Galleria dell'Accademia to see Michelangelo's David.
A must-see.
Or the Gucci Garden, if fashion's your thing.
Why not?
A walk along the Arno River and across the Ponte Vecchio Bridge is lovely.
Those shops built right into the bridge.
And sometimes the best thing is just to wander the streets and soak it all in.
Agreed.
Pisa. Well, the main attraction is Piazza dei Miracoli, another UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Home of the Leaning Tower.
The cathedral, the baptistry, several
The
museums.
tower's lean is due to the soil, did you know?
Yeah.
Construction started in 1173.
Amazing.
There.
And it was stabilized in 2001, so you can still climb it.
I think I'd be a bit nervous.
Lucca is known for its Renaissance walls, which are unique because
You can walk or cycle along the top of them.
inside the walls, cobblestone streets, charming buildings, lots of outdoor cafes and restaurants.
Sounds delightful.
Siena was a real favorite, it seems, centered around Piazza del Campo.
Magnificent medieval square.
Built on a hillside, so be prepared for a climb. The Palazzo Pubblico is a highlight.
Historically, a rival to Florence.
And of course, the Palio of Siena, that horse race, twice a year.
July 2nd and August 16th if you're planning around it.
San Gimignano stands out for its medieval towers. They call it the Manhattan of the Middle Ages.
172 towers, now only 14 remain.
It's retained its feudal atmosphere and was an important stop for pilgrims on the Via Francigena.
Lots of history there.
Oh, and try the gelato from Gelateria Dondoli. They recommend that.
I'll add it to a list.
Tuscany overall feels like rolling hills, fertile plains, vineyards.
Chianti wine country.
Mild on the coast, more temperature changes inland.
Good to know.
Etruscan and Roman influences, then the Medici family. The Art Palace of Italy.
It's all there.
Best time to visit April through June or September through October.
Avoid the summer crowds and heat.
So for Tuscany, Siena, Florence, and Lucca are the top recommendations.
Each offering a different taste of Tuscany's charm.
Finally, the learner. Let's escape to Sardinia.
Island life.
Visited many times over the last decade, it seems. Almost 2,000 kilometers of coastline.
Stunning.
Sandy beaches, mountainous interior, great for hiking.
Perfect combination.
Temperate climate, ideal for outdoor activities.
Sailing and diving are popular, right?
Absolutely. Up to 30 dive sites, excellent visibility.
Amazing.
Different seas surrounding the island, so lots of marine diversity. Sea temperature is pretty stable.
Good to know.
Euro is the currency. And the Sardinians.
Extremely friendly, they said. Informal. and welcoming, especially in the countryside.
Not much of a language barrier. Younger people and many older folks speak good English.
That opens up possibilities for independent travel.
Tourist season runs April to November, but June and July are very busy and hot.
And August is even worse, apparently. Lots of mainland Italians on holiday.
So many things to do. City visits, Cagliari, Olbia, Arzacina, Alghero.
Something for everyone.
Boat trips, cycling, food markets, archaeological sites, hill walks, wineries.
Spoiled for choice.
Museums, nature parks, beaches of all kinds. Half-day and full-day excursions available.
Sounds like you could spend weeks there and not get bored.
Must-sees for Sardinia in general. Alghero, with its old, walled town.
Charming.
Definitely the diving experiences.
Unforgettable, I'd say.
And those offshore boat trips to explore the coast.
Makes sense. Now, there's also a blog post about a laid-back holiday in Alghero.
2 weeks, very focused on relaxation.
This is like my kind of trip.
Promenade walks at sunrise and sunset, beach walks to Fertilia.
Take the bus back, they said.
A practical tip. Buy your own sun umbrella. It's cheaper than renting.
Good advice.
The beach sand gets hot, so wear shoes.
Not like those Caribbean beaches.
You can walk, hire bikes, hire cars, although that's pricey.
Options?
Electric scooters are available too, and public transport is cheap but limited.
Something to consider.
Bring your own sunscreen. They emphasize that. No book swaps because of COVID, and limited English bookshops.
So pack your own reading material.
They also recommend packing light. Carry on only if possible.
Less hassle.
Spiaggia di Maria Pia Beach is a favorite. Clear water, white sand, gradual depth.
Safe for swimming and lifeguards too.
They recommend La Palafita Beach Restaurant.
I'll keep that in mind.
Local wines like BLU are great, but not widely exported.
A hidden gem.
They warn about the apartment areas away from the beachfront can be noisy and crowded.
And dog fouling is an issue, apparently.
But the food is consistently praised. Great fish, pasta, pizza, even sushi.
For a change of pace.
Taxis from the airport are 25-35 euro. Buses are 1.50 and run hourly.
Good to know.
Restaurants and supermarkets get packed on weekends, so book ahead or shop early.
Makes sense. The locals are out and about too.
And it's Italian satellite TV again, so bring your own devices if you want English content.
Good reminder.
So for a relaxed Alghero experience, the must-sees are the town itself.
The beachfront restaurants for people watching.
Wandering the old walled town.
Simple pleasures.
Average cost for a couple in a self-service apartment in July is around €1,000.
Not bad.
One last thing, the learner. You mentioned a 7-night cruise from Venice to Izmir.
A Mediterranean adventure.
July 2013. 3 nights in Venice beforehand.
Lovely.
They did a private half-day tour, boat trip around the lagoon, walking tour, gondola ride,
Hitting all the highlights.
Peggy Guggenheim Gallery for some art, and they caught a Vivaldi concert, too.
Soaking up the culture.
Cruise stops included Dubrovnik and Split in Croatia.
Beautiful cities, but with a sense of their recent past.
Then Piraeus, Athens, Greece.
They visited during the financial crisis. That must have been interesting.
Acropolis and Parthenon, the main sites there.
Classics.
Izmir, Turkey, was a surprise. Cosmopolitan with mosques, bazaars.
Unexpected.
Ancient Greek ruins nearby. Ephesus was a popular excursion.
Fascinating.
They advised being wary of street currency exchange in Izmir.
Good advice.
Euro was accepted everywhere, even in Turkey.
Convenient.
Italians were friendly and stylish throughout. Local guides recommended in some places due to language.
Makes sense.
Must-sees from this trip. Venice, of course.
Naturally.
Guided tours in each city to understand the history.
And enjoy the onboard entertainment on the cruise.
It cost around €1,500 per person.
Not bad for a multi-country experience.
Well, the learner, that was quite a journey.
Through the diverse landscapes and experiences of Italy.
Cinque Terre, Bay of Naples, Lake Garda, Tuscany, Sardinia, even a cruise.
You've got a wealth of information and tips now.
We hope this deep dive has been informative and inspiring.
And maybe spark some ideas for your own travels.
Each of these journeys highlights the value of experiencing new places.
To appreciate what you have back home and to discover new things about yourself.
So, the learner. What stood out to you most from these Italian adventures?
Perhaps that's the starting point for planning your own trip.
Food for thought, right?
Absolutely.
Until next time, the learner.
Happy travels.